Ambitious women are prone to experiencing high levels of stress, often driven by perfectionism and the pressure to do it all. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't strive to accomplish as much as we want to, but it does mean that we need to be intentional about how we manage stress as we build a life we love. In today's episode, we're going to cover 6 really tactical strategies for reducing stress as women who do it all so we can prevent burnout and keep building the lives we love.
With the topic of stress, we were prepping for this episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, lowering stress. It's such a good conversation. And I feel like I go through seasons of my life where I'm better at this than others. But when we were prepping for today's episode, I was really thinking back to the time in my life when I was balancing so many different things. Because for a lot of people listening to this episode, that's probably the stage of life that you're at. Maybe you have a corporate job and you're building a business on the side, or you want to dip your toes into content creation or whatever it may be. You probably are managing multiple things. And I think that that's great. I think that when you are an ambitious woman and you want to do it all, you absolutely should go after it. But I think in that instance, it's so much more important to set up the system so that you can actually go after it without feeling just stressed and anxious all the time. So I was doing a lot of thinking back to that period of my life prepping for today's episode, and we have a lot of good things here. So I'm excited to get into them.
Yes, we do. We have a lot of things that are very tactical, which I really love because it gives you a way to just listen to the episode and then, go action on something afterwards. But before we get into that list, we wanted to talk a little bit about how stress actually compounds and what that means in a very simple, easy to understand kind of way, because I personally think it's easier to address issues like overwhelm, stress, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, things like that when you understand how it actually forms like in your brain and in your body and why it becomes an issue. So, when we feel stressed, our brains enter a sort of like survival mode. And basically, what happens, you hear the terms rest and digest versus fight or flight. So, when we feel stressed, our brain transitions from diverting energy, or our body transitions from diverting energy to rest and digest, which is rational thinking and digestion, to fight or flight. And I feel like we've all experienced fight or flight at some point in our life. It's very unpleasant. You get things like increased heart rate, your digestion gets inhibited. And the reason it does that is because your body is preparing to be really reactive and to go into immediate action. And you think about like, I don't want to say like in an animal kind of way, but you think about like when you're going into fight or flight, it's because there's some sort of perceived threat, and your body's natural response is to make sure that you are prepared to react to that threat, which makes sense, right? It's like, okay, great. Love that. Love that my body is protecting me in that way. And through that process, adrenaline gets released, which makes us feel that chronic hurry and urgency kind of sense. I like to kind of feel it as a buzzing almost. I feel like I'm like just this buzzing feeling, yeah, the whole time, which then makes our brain interpret everyday stressors as emergencies or tasks that we have as emergencies. So when you have a lot on your plate and you're feeling stressed, that then makes you perceive the next task that you have to do as an additional stressor. And then that makes you then more overwhelmed. So now you're again perceiving the next task as even more stressful. And when you think about how that kind of grows, the stress just really compounds on itself again and again and again. So you end up going from, okay, I'm someone who, is managing a lot of things to, I just dropped my pen on the floor. Why is that like sending me over the edge? And you think, how did I get here? Or like I will think about, when you're like really stressed out and then you're walking somewhere, you're rushing, and then you like trip on your own foot or something. And you're like, so help me God. You're like, I am going to freak out right now. And it's like those little things that send you over the edge. You're like, what the heck? You're like, how did I get here? Why is that the thing that's sending me over the edge? It's because you have so much on your plate and so many other stressors that your brain is now perceiving those little things as huge threats to your body and to your safety and to your mind. And that's sending you into this further stress spiral.
Yeah, and I think that when you get into this state, it's not even so much that you're like, I'm stressed because I have a presentation this afternoon that I haven't prepared for, or I have a presentation that I'm just like a little bit nervous about. A lot of times when you're in this state, you can't even pinpoint exactly what that thing is that you're stressed about, big or small. But I know for me, when I was in the biggest state of like, you know what, I'm stressed and anxious basically all the time, I think it showed up for me as I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning because I was just like stressed and anxious about my day. Like I didn't want to do the things that I knew I needed to do that day. So I would just like lay there and kind of procrastinate getting out of bed. That was one. And then I would notice that at the end of every single day, almost every single day, I would end the day feeling like I didn't actually get anything done. Like I was at my computer all day, but I didn't actually accomplish anything. And we're going to talk about some tips for that in today's episode. But those were the two big ones for me. It was like I was stressed in the morning. And then at the end of the day, I was also stressed and anxious because I did a whole day's worth of work and I had nothing to show for it. And now I'm anxious about the next day.
Yep.
So I think that sometimes, you do like exactly what you just said. You get into the state of a constant spiral of just these little tiny things that you can't even pinpoint exactly why you're stressed, but you're just stressed literally all the time.
Or for me, sometimes I'm like, I'm stressed out because I'm like, and I have to clean the dish towels, and my car needs an oil change, and oh my gosh, I have to take my car to the car wash, and oh my gosh, I have to do this and I this, that. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like, why are we stressed out about these objectively minuscule things? And it's because all the minuscule things are compounding on each other and growing to be so much. Or sometimes I'll get into bed at night and my brain will just be running through all the things that I still need to do, and I'm like, girl, I'm trying to go to sleep right now. I'm trying to read my book. And again, I'm thinking about these minuscule things. And I think that when you are someone who's managing it all, like like for me, for example, I work for myself, I live by myself. So I handle everything with my work and my day to day on my own. I handle all of the, domestic labor of my house on my own. And so there is a lot of things to manage. But I think that there's a lot of ways to kind of combat that, which we're going to talk about. And we do have a lot to share, a lot of very juicy things to share. So let's get straight into it. Erin, why don't you just kick us off with the first one?
Yeah, let's go to number one. So, this strategy to reduce stress is the concept of, they call it do it right now, or DIRN. That's the acronym. So, DIRN stands for do it right now. And I love this, and sometimes I'm better at implementing it than others, to be completely transparent. But I notice that when I am implementing it, I feel way less stressed. And basically, this is exactly what it sounds. You're going to do the task right then and there, and they typically assign a time frame to it. So if you get a task onto your plate that's going to take you less than 5 to 10 minutes, do it right now. Do not add a 5 minute task onto your to-do list. Don't even add a 10 minute task onto your to-do list. So this could look like you get an email from your manager, and your manager's asking you to send him a report. It's going to take you a couple minutes to go find the report and then to email it back to him. Do that right now. Don't add that 5 minute task to your to-do list, because then you start compounding these small 5 minute tasks and your to-do list becomes 20 things long, but you're just procrastinating the things that you know you actually need to do. And I think that is such an underrated way to just clear your mind of those smaller things that do take up so much mental load, when in reality, they're not going to take that much time to actually do them. I think some other things with this could be smaller little life admin things that, as soon as your brain like remembers that it's something that needs to be on its plate, just do it. Like scheduling a doctor's appointment. If you get a thought in your brain while you're like at the gym that you need to go schedule your doctor's appointment, just call your doctor right there. It's going to take you 2 minutes. Add it into your calendar what day you scheduled the appointment for, and then it doesn't take up any more mental load because you just did it right now.
I've been saying the motto finish tasks to completion to myself over the last few weeks a lot, because I feel like my physical space is something that has needed more of this kind of, get things done in the moment. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I'll be really quick to get tasks done that impact somebody else or hold someone else up. But when it comes to things that only impact me, like cleaning up the pile of clothes in the corner of my room or putting away my laundry, I will let those kind of fall to the wayside. But I think that your physical space is so important, because it essentially creates having visual, like actual clutter in your space creates visual noise, which then ends up competing for your attention when you're trying to just exist in your space. So if you are cooking dinner, but you're looking at a stack of mail on the counter that you still need to open, and you know there are going to be things in there that you need to tend to, now your mind is being split between cooking dinner and the mail that's on the counter. So you're not being present in cooking dinner, and you're less focused, you're feeling distracted, and your mind is basically trying to think about two things at once. And that also creates that buzzing feeling I was kind of talking about where you're like, I have to do this. Oh, and I have to do that. And your brain is just going, going, going. And I think that also too, when I was looking into this more and like how your brain views it, your brain starts to look at a disorganized environment as a series of unfinished tasks, which actually creates a constant low grade stress response. And for so many of us ambitious women that are managing a million things, we don't even realize that we're existing in that constant low grade stress response because that's become our normal. That's our norm. So we don't even like think twice about it, which is something definitely to think about more. But I have been saying finish tasks to completion to myself. So, for example, when I bring in packages that I get in the mail, I don't just put them on the counter and then leave them there or put them on the floor and like get to them 3 days later. I open them, I take everything out, I break down the box in that
Oh, you're
moment.
better than me.
I break it down and then I mean I have to bring it down into the, the bin in my apartment, but I have like a little I put it into my wagon and then when my wagon is full, I bring them downstairs. But I do that all in one go because then it closes that mental loop. When you have a task that comes into play, it opens that mental loop and now I've used this analogy before, but I think about it like an octopus and like you have your 8 arms and every time there's like something that comes into play, an arm gets extended to that thing. It's like now you have 37 arms connected to 37 different tasks. How overwhelming is that? Close some of them. So when the task comes into play, try to close that open loop so that you don't end up octopus armed to a bajillion things. I also do this with my laundry. I was so proud of myself the other day. I was so proud. I took my laundry out of the dryer and I immediately put it away.
Oh,
Immediately. I
that's a
hung
big one for
everything
me
up.
too.
I did
Mhm.
not leave it on my bed for 4 hours. I put it away immediately, and I walked out of my closet after putting those clothes away, like, I felt untouchable because I was like, "I did
No,
it." I
yeah.
was so proud of
That's a
myself.
big one. That is a big one.
It
I
is.
need to remember this more, especially with my physical space, because I'm like an 80% of the way there kind of girl. Like when I'm
Mm,
cleaning up my apartment or my house, I'll do it 80% of the way, but I'll still leave these little piles of things because I don't want to deal with the box that I have to break down. I don't want to
mhm.
deal with like the picture frame that's sitting on my stairwell that I bought literally months ago and I haven't hung it up or printed out a photo to put in the picture frame. Just little things like that. It's like
Yeah.
my house is clean overall, but there's still little piles of things there of these unfinished tasks that I don't do a good job of. And Alex came home the other day after being gone for like a month and there were so many boxes to break down, which is totally his job in my mind and his mind. He knows it, but like he wasn't home, so it just didn't
Yeah.
get done. So there's just been empty boxes literally everywhere and he took them all to the dump
Yeah.
today. So we love him for
Yeah.
that.
I wait, one quick note before we go to the next one. I just wanted to mention there is an Instagram creator. I'll leave her Instagram in the show notes, but her like at is Jenny for your thoughts. I think there's some like periods sprinkled into there, but it's Jenny for your thoughts. And I came across her page the other day. I feel like she has amazing advice for this kind of like home stress reduction kind of conversation. She shares tips for people with ADHD. And even though I don't have ADHD, I find them like her videos are so fascinating, but it basically talks about how if you feel like you always have like clutter in your home or, if there's constantly a pile of laundry piling up or you're always losing your keys or you don't like the clutter at your, front table, whatever it may be. She's like, it's just because your home the way it's set up is not functioning for your paths and how you function as a human. And so she shares a lot of content about how to essentially optimize your house to work alongside how like what your defaults are. So if you are someone who like you come in and you drop your keys in the front, then she has some sort of system that basically makes it so that stays contained and organized so that you don't have to stop doing what your default reaction is, like dropping your keys at the front, but there's some sort of system to help you stay more organized around that. So if this is something that you feel like you need to work on in reducing your stress levels, making your environment more stress-free, I would definitely check out her Instagram because she has like the most amazing tips.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Do you actually want to share this framework? I love this. We've talked about this in an episode before, but you were the one that introduced me to this framework. So,
Yes.
do you want to share because I love this?
Yes. So it's called the DEAS framework or Diaz framework. And I found this online when I was looking into reducing decision fatigue last year. And I have no idea who created it. And I don't think there is like a source for it. But if anyone happens to know, please let us know because I'd love to credit this person. But this framework genuinely, I feel like helped me get through last year, which was like the worst year of my life. It's like walks you through how to, yeah, reduce decision fatigue and stress in 4 steps. And the 4 steps are delegate, eliminate, automate, and simplify. And it is the most like practical, tactical thing to reduce overwhelm. So, delegate is what can you hand off to someone else? And I think that this is huge for, the people listening as women who are balancing a lot of things. You have to be able to ask for help and to know your limits and to know when it's appropriate to just outsource something to someone else in order to reduce your stress and keep yourself moving forward. So, some examples are getting your groceries delivered. That was one that I did almost all of last year and I loved it. And I still do it when I'm, a lot busier and stressed out, or hire someone to wash your car. Like they have mobile car wash people. Have someone come do it. I love a mobile mechanic. I am not here. Someone come to me and do this. I think that's a really great thing to
They also
delegate.
have mobile dog groomers if anyone has a dog. Yeah, you can get someone to
Yes.
come bathe your dog at your house, which is amazing.
I see them like the little like a van that does it
Yeah.
outside my apartment all the time, and I'm like, "That is the best." Or even having a house cleaner. I have heard this conversation of people being like, "Why would you ever have someone come and clean your home when you live in an apartment?" Because I don't wanna clean it.
'Cause I
The
don't
heck?
wanna do
Like,
it.
I don't wanna do it. I know, one of my friends has a townhome, and she was having someone come and clean it quite often, and I was like, "You know what? That actually feels like it would be great to have someone just come and do a deep clean of my apartment every now and again." Just the little
The
things, like dusting the base
baseboards,
I was gonna say the
the
baseboards.
bathrooms, yes. I can clean and I can organize, like, day to day, but I don't wanna do the deep stuff. I don't wanna clean my house
Yes.
and then have to go a layer deeper and clean the baseboards.
Yes, I'm like,
Yes.
I don't wanna be on my hands and knees dusting the baseboards, but someone who has a cleaning company, I'm like, "Here, local small business, come in and clean my apartment, please, and do a deep clean." So, there are things like that, or even just if you can't afford to outsource it, it's like, ask a friend, "Hey, can you help me, like, just come over and help me get some of these home tasks? Can you help me hang this picture frame, build this furniture?" It's so important that they say that expression of like, if you want a village, you need to be a villager. And I think that typically, as the women who are, again, balancing it all, doing all the things, we're great at being the villager. And I think it's like, well, then lean on your village, ask people, hey, like, I'm really in a busy season right now and I just like need some help. Would anyone be willing to just come over and hold me accountable and help me just like get these things done? And just tackle it together. Like, I think that'd be a great I would do that. I'd be like, "Hey, girls, let's get
Yeah.
everyone together and chit chat and just you hang that picture frame over there. I'm gonna clean this over here. Like, let's just reset
Yeah,
my life
get a
together."
bottle of wine. No, I love that. And on the topic too of setting up systems to make your space work better for you, because that is so important for managing stress. You can either hire people to organize your place for you on TaskRabbit, which is an app that helps you like hire contractors for certain things. You can hire someone to come and organize your space and they will come to your house. They'll do like an audit of what you have versus like what you could organize better. And then you'll give them a budget. They will go shop for you for all of the organizers and then they'll come set it up, which I feel like for a lot of people, just that process alone is very overwhelming. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I have to figure out what I need to organize. Then I have to go buy it. Then I need to come hang it and set it all up. Someone can do that. Or like you just said, you can outsource it to a friend to help
Mhm.
you if she's better at it than you are. When I did this, or when I moved to Nashville, I did this. I booked my friend. My best friend lives down in Florida, and her apartment looks like it's from Pinterest. It's immaculate. And she did it all like in the first week of her moving into her apartment. It makes no sense. But it's amazing and it's so organized and every single thing has a place. And I was like, Mandy, I need you to come help me move into my Nashville apartment. So I booked her a flight on credit card points. So it actually didn't cost me anything, but she came and helped me and she helped me buy things. She helped me organize things. We hung things on the wall. And just that alone was so helpful in setting up my place. So I actually had systems for me living there.
I think it is such a good, again, just such a good reminder for us as women who are trying to do it all ourselves to not be afraid to ask people for help. But okay, the next step in this framework. So again, this is delegate, eliminate, automate, simplify. I'm probably going to say that 10 times because I want you to remember it since it's not like written in front of you. But eliminate is just asking yourself, like, what's just not important in this season of life? And for me, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but last year when my life was just so crazy, I was like, I need to eliminate something. What is something that is taking my time that is just like not important? And it was dating. I was like, I don't need to be spending time on dating apps. I don't need to be spending time going on dates with people. I'm not no. And I'm not prioritizing like going out and trying to meet new people. I was like, I have my solid friend group. I'm going to eliminate that from my life right now because my health and my career were taking up more time. That is such a simple thing to do, but sometimes you have to like really sit down and think and be like, what is not a priority? I will also say when I kind of go through this framework on my own, I like to make a list, like brain dump everything that's occupying my brain in that moment. So any of those like lingering tasks I feel like I need to do, or like the first time I did it, I was like, what do I need to make for dinner tonight? What do I need to make for dinner tomorrow? Like dating, my career. I was like, oh, I need to clean my house. I need to do this, that, whatever. I just made a list of all these things. And then to physically cross out like what I could eliminate was so helpful for me. But a couple other examples are like, stop saying yes to as many things to give yourself more space in your calendar. Like, are you just saying yes to things and showing up, but maybe that's not really helpful right now and you need to just say no to it? Also, other things like get creative. I just saw a video about how I guess Whole Foods sells these like family dinner things that are essentially like they're effectively like a food already meal prepped for you and you can just portion it out. Maybe you're like, all right, for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to grab some whole food dinners and I'm not meal prepping on my own because I don't want to spend 2 hours doing it every Sunday. And I'm just going to buy a big nutritious family dinner from Whole Foods and call it there. Okay, cool. It's like, what is not a priority that you can just take a pause on? Doesn't mean you're eliminating it forever, but you're taking a pause on it for a season to reduce some stress.
I'm glad you used the dating example because I think that's also applicable to friendships or even like travel related to friendships. Because I think that obviously, like we just said, it's important to have a community and don't ghost your friends for an entire year and not text them back. But I also think that it is okay to just admit that you're in more of a season on focusing on your career, on your business, on becoming a content creator, whatever you're trying to do and say, you know what, like this isn't the season for me to be doing a million things with my friends and making plans just because I don't have any plans this weekend and I
Hmm.
feel like I should be doing something this weekend. I do think that you're going to have to realize that you're going to be in a phase where you're just doing more on the work front and that balance will come. We talk about this on the podcast all the time, but like balance comes in seasons and it's also earned, it's not given. Like give yourself time to like give yourself that balance in the future, but it doesn't have to be today.
Yes. And you can just let your friends know. Like, I have a friend who was like, yeah, she bought a house and she was like, just focused on moving in and enjoying her time down there. So she's like, I'm not going to be coming, into the city as often. Okay. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. I was like, cool, cool, cool. Like, and then she's like, I want to, be more active. We were both talking about how we both had health and fitness goals. So we said, okay, cool. Since that's a priority for us and we're trying to get in movement every single day when we hang out, let's just do that. So we did. We went to a hot Pilates sculpt class and then we went for a walk and we did what matched our goals and spent time together. So I think there's also opportunity for that. Okay, the next part of this framework is automate. It's asking yourself, what can I make happen without having to think about it? So a good kind of framework for this as well, or a good question to ask yourself throughout this whole framework when you're doing, because sometimes it's hard to identify like what tasks do I even have going on in the moment. So just go throughout a day and ask yourself, like, when you do a task, how can I keep myself from doing this task again in the future? And that will help you figure out, okay, do I need to delegate it, eliminate it, automate, or simplify? And so with automation, some very simple ones that I use is I put my coffee beans on subscription. So I don't have to think when I'm like getting low on my coffee beans, okay, I need to go order them because I would always forget. I would always like order them last minute and then I wouldn't have coffee beans for a little while. I'm not going without coffee though. So I'd have to buy some like bogus beans from the grocery store that aren't good. And then I'm messing with the settings on my, espresso machine and I'm having poopy coffee. And it's just like, I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? So I set my beans up on subscription and every single month it sends me the exact amount of beans that I need. And now I never have to think about ordering my beans. And it sounds so simple, but it's one less thing that I even have to use any of my mental load on. You can also do this for other things that you use on a scheduled basis, like your supplements or any household products like laundry soap, shampoo, like anything like that, your skincare stuff. Just set those things up on subscription. I feel like that's just like one of the easiest things to do.
Automating life things is so underrated. I feel like when we hear about automation, it's always on the work front, but life things are
Mhm.
so good to automate too. This is something that I want to set up. I haven't done it yet, but I'm terrible at remembering people's birthdays. And also, I'm
Mm.
like a bad texter. I'm like the type of person that you might get a text back 2 days later. And I hate that I'm like that, but like
Mhm.
I used to never be like that. I don't know why I am now.
I'm the same
But
way.
I now you can add people's birthdays to a calendar and then literally schedule like automated text, or it will just like send you the reminder and say like here's the message, do you want to hit send, and then you can edit it to be like more personal obviously.
Mhm.
But there are ways to do that so that you don't have to think about like, oh my gosh, I literally told my mom happy birthday a day late last year, which is so sad
Mhm.
and pathetic, but like
I
automate it.
Yeah, I have done the same thing because I will just forget, like, what day it
Yeah, what
is,
day of the week
and
it
then
is,
I'm
I
like,
don't
"Oh
know.
my gosh." I will say too, which this goes into the last part of this framework really well, but the last part of this framework is to simplify. So, just asking yourself, "What can I just make simpler and reduce mental load on?" And going back to the same question of how can I keep myself from doing this task again in the future, you can also ask yourself, "How can I make this task simpler next time?" And on the topic of, like, dates and calendars and stuff, I put whenever I find out what someone's birthday is, I put it into my Google Calendar. But then for bigger birthdays where I know, for example, some of my friends here, I know all of them are going to have some sort of birthday party that they will let me know about in advance. And therefore, I'll remember to like get them a gift before that event is scheduled. But for, let's say, Mother's Day and Father's Day, I feel like those are things that always sneak up on my calendar. And now that I live away from my parents, I have to like ship the gift or whatever to them. So whenever I add a date like that into my calendar, I always add usually 3 to 4 weeks prior a reminder in my calendar to like plan the gift. So my dad's birthday is the beginning of April, so it was in the middle or the beginning of March, beginning or middle of March that I had a note in my calendar to buy dad's birthday gift. Same thing with Mother's Day. I had a reminder 3 weeks ago to plan Mother's Day activity so that I every year, annually, it's coming up 3 weeks before, and it's a reminder for myself. The other thing that I'm trying to be really, like, better about this one, I will say, but just to simplify, again, allowing yourself to make less decisions will help you with that stress. So, booking your next hair, nail, or doctor's appointment when you're there. So, when you're at the nail salon, she goes, "When do you wanna come in?" You say, "Okay, let me put it on the calendar." I'm the worst at doing this with hair. I just got my hair done recently. Did I do this? No, but I need to. Instead of allowing myself to like get to the point where my hair looks insane and then I'm like, "Well, now I need to schedule it. When do I go?" Da, da, da. When I'm in the salon, I just say, "Cool. I'm going to come back in 3 months. Can we put me on the calendar for that?" Put my doctor's appointment in the calendar because then you just don't even have to think about it the next time. You just do it in the moment. You close that loop and you know when it's coming. Another thing is like having go to outfit frameworks in mind so that you, when you're getting ready, you don't have to always think about what you're wearing. Like just do jeans and a top. Just do jeans and a top or get those Aritzia Lodge pants. I have a pair of those. Love them. Super comfortable. Go with everything. Get a pair of Aritzia pants and just rotate that in a top. Like really try to simplify different aspects of your life so you don't have to make as many conscious decisions because that will help with actually again closing those loops and reducing all that mental stress so you can just like breathe for a second, you know?
I love that framework because it also just helps you like obviously if you're going to do the framework, you have to go through your day and really pinpoint what areas are stressing you out. Like pinpointing, okay, I really don't have time to be doing this in this season of my life, so how can I delegate it? Or okay, this is harder than it should have been. How do I simplify it? It does force you to go through your day and identify it. So I think that that's just such a good reminder of like if you're sitting down just saying, I'm stressed, it's going to be very difficult to pinpoint why you're stressed or what small things are
Mhm.
adding to it. So you really do have to go through an entire day and take note of all of these smaller things that you could be making your life so much easier on. So I love that framework. But let's go on to number three. I really like this one too, which is to plan tomorrow before today ends. And this is something that I started doing again when I was in my season of life. I was a corporate girl, I had a freelance role. I was also doing content creation, posting every single day on social media. And like those are three jobs in and of itself. Like obviously one's full time and then two are part time, but those are a lot of jobs at the same time. And again, I would find myself at the beginning of each day laying in bed way longer than I should be because I'm stressed and anxious and like don't want to get out of bed because that means I have to start my to-do list. And for me, that would be like okay, I not only have to execute, but I also have to figure out what my to do list is because outside of my corporate job, I'm the one basically assigning myself tasks for what I'm doing on the side. And that's a really hard place to be in when you are both planning and executing your day and switching between planning mode versus execution mode. So, something that I started doing was the very last thing that I would do in my day is plan my day for tomorrow. And that's also when I started time blocking my day, which is like a whole other thing. But basically, instead of just writing out your to do list, also assigning what time of the day you're going to be doing each thing. And this was such a game changer for me during this phase of my life because it not only told me, like, okay, as soon as I wake up on a Tuesday, I already know exactly what I need to do on Tuesday because Monday night I planned it out. But then I also said, what time do I need to be doing those things? So in the morning when I'm laying in bed, I can't lay in bed longer than I have to because I know what time I need to start my tasks. And if I don't start them on time, it's going to push back my entire schedule and then I'm going to be even more stressed. So I feel like just that small shift of like, plan your day before your day starts changes everything when you are trying to manage a ton of different things and almost assigning yourself the to-do list for the day.
I also think with this, it's so important to plan rest and to like factor that into your day because I read this stat as I was kind of researching for this episode and I've never heard this before, but I thought it was so fascinating. It's called the 42% rule. It's basically, I don't know if it was like a study or how they measured it, but basically it said that to avoid burnout, high performers must spend at least 42% of their day, which is roughly 10 hours resting, recovering, or engaging in non work activities. And it's from this burnout book by Amelia and Emily Nagoski. And what's interesting about this, I was like, well, that doesn't really seem like that much, like 10 hours resting, recovering, or engaging in non work activities, because this includes sleeping. So if you sleep 8 hours a day, that's basically saying 2 of your waking hours need to be things that are like rest, recovery, non work. But then I thought about it and I'm like, how many of us just get up, we like spring out of bed, we're rushing through our morning routine. That's not relaxing. That's a non work activity, but that's not relaxing in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think that counts. You rush out the door, you go to work, then you rush home. Sure, you might, your commute is maybe considered non work, but to me, that's part of work, commuting to and from. And commuting is not relaxing most of the time. Then you get home, you're cooking dinner, you're cleaning up, you're doing all the things. Do you give yourself even like 30 minutes to just sit and do nothing? And a couple months ago, I had kind of this realization that I was like, I don't know the last time I sat down and just like watched a TV show, like from start to finish. And so I started giving myself more time to just do nothing, like watch a show, just relax, like just sit. And it's been actually so restorative. And I think it's such a good framework to even just try to give yourself 30 minutes, like, because it's hard. It's hard not to. You want to fill every single second with like something productive or cleaning, cooking, talking to your friends, it's like just give yourself a little bit of time. Watch some TV, read a book, like do a puzzle, whatever's relaxing to you. And just that actually allows your brain though to like zen and slow down.
I love that. I love that, which kind of flows us into our next tip to lower stress, which is creating a strong morning and night routine, which does sound cliche, but it's so important. It is
It
so
is.
important. I feel like in this phase of my life, my nighttime routine is probably a little bit more important than my morning routine. I'm kind of the type of person that I have the most energy in the morning. So when I wake up, I basically just like walk my dog and then kind of start my day. And I will say that walking my dog is like a 30-minute time period where I don't listen to anything. I don't even have my AirPods in. I'm obviously not on my phone. So it is a little bit of like a slow down period for me because of that. And I obviously have to do it every single day, even if it's raining or snowing or Bella needs to go outside regardless. So that kind of helps me start my morning routine. But outside of that, I basically just go right to the gym right after that. And that's not, yes, I'm not working, but I'm also not relaxing. My brain is very much so turned on at that point because I am the most productive in the morning. So, like, for example, on my way to the gym this morning, I was voice noting myself for the outline for today's podcast episode because I always get my best ideas while I'm driving. And I was just doing that. So, like, I'm very much so thinking about work already first thing in the morning. But my nighttime routine, I feel like, is more important to compensate for that. And I do a lot of my relaxing and kind of winding down very early in my nighttime routine. Literally by like 7 p.m. I want to be dinner done, Bella outside, and getting into bed by 8, 8:30. And it is just such a good time to wind down and not think about work and not let yourself just start thinking about the next day already.
I know that this idea of creating a stronger morning and night routine might sound like it's adding an additional task on your plate because you're like, gosh dang it, guys. Like I'm overwhelmed. Like, and now you're telling me to create a freaking routine on top of everything else that I'm doing. But
Yeah, routine probably
I
isn't the
know.
best word for it,
Yes,
honestly.
but I honestly though, the thing is that when you have a more instant routine, your brain knows what to expect, and that reduces decision fatigue because you're not getting up every morning and being like, "What do I need to do?" Or every night you're like, you're not paying attention to the clock, and then all of a sudden it's 9 p.m. and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I still have to do the dishes from today, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I didn't do this thing I said I was going to do, but I really want to get into bed by this time." And now you're not getting enough sleep. So it's like, how do you actually create the structure in your day to where your brain knows what to expect in the morning and at night before you go to bed? And it allows you to have some time for yourself, get the things done you need to, whatever. And I think that if I guess maybe it's just like a personal thing, but I think that I used to be in a season where I'm like, I don't have time for no stinking morning routine. I'm like, I got to get up and I got to get moving. I think that I just had too many, I just wasn't being productive enough during the day, which we will talk about after too. But I think that everyone should be able to give themselves even just 30 minutes of some sort of structure in the morning to like, I get up, I'm not touching my phone first thing. I go and I do my makeup. I eat my breakfast slowly. I'm not choking my food down. I like, just giving yourself that space. I also will say that if you can start your day with some sort of needle mover, which is like a task that makes you feel really accomplished or something that you really want to check off of your to-do list, that makes me feel so much better, like so much more productive, and also makes me feel less stressed because now I don't have to think about that task all day as something that I need to do after work. That's something I started doing recently where I choose one before work task and one after work task to go into my routine. And for example, my before work task a few weeks ago was booking Red Sox tickets to take my dad to a game. That was like one of my before work tasks. And then the next day it was cleaning the toilets. And the next day it was cleaning the mirrors or whatever. Having that really helped because then I went into my day being like, I already accomplished something on my to do list. My after work task, sometimes it's going to the gym and doing a workout class that I want to do. Sometimes it's cleaning my coffee machine or whatever it might be. But that helped me get through a lot of those lingering tasks I had to do that were just piling up, close a lot of those loops, and it makes me feel a lot more accomplished. And I find that when I do that, I'm way more productive throughout the day. But also, too, just like scientifically, it's also shown that proactive self care, so starting your day with something like reading for a little bit, going to the gym or working out, meditation, journaling, skincare, something like that that is designed to relax you can reduce your cortisol throughout the whole day. So I think if you can carve out that time, even if it's just, again, 5 minutes, just trying to do that, I think makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's gonna look different for everyone. Like you just said, the proactive self-care can mean so many different things. I
Hmm.
think when you hear that initially, people are gonna think, well, you have to go sit on the couch and read a book for 30 minutes in the morning. Okay, I'm
Hmm.
the type of person, if I sit down, I'm not getting back up. I'm
No.
just not. I will be there for a long time. I
Hmm.
can't sit down in the morning because I will be lazy
Hmm.
and that's not gonna, yeah, it's not gonna make me feel good. But my thing is driving to the gym, I'm never listening to anything. And yes, that does usually mean that I start thinking about work, but just let your mind take you where it needs to be. Also, a lot of the times when I'm walking on the treadmill at the gym, I usually do like a 15 to 20-minute incline walk to warm up. I am usually not listening to anything. My AirPods are on noise cancellation and nothing is playing. And that is totally meditative time for me to just think and lower my stress and lower my cortisol, and it does make me feel so much better throughout the entire day. The other thing that you said about like our brains are very routine oriented. So your brain starts to look forward to the things that are inherently your habits and your routines, good or bad. And that means that if your habit after work is to immediately just go rot on the couch for 4 hours, your brain all day is going to be thinking ahead to go rotting on the couch for the next 3 to 4 hours. That's what you're going to look forward to because that is your routine. But if you develop a more productive routine, your brain's going to start looking forward to that productive routine. One thing that I started doing was after work every single day, I will put a podcast on and I'll walk Bella. Again, she needs walked regardless, regardless of whether I want to do it. I have to let her out. But I put a podcast on, I walk Bella, and then while my podcast is still playing for the last like 20 to 30 minutes, I clean my house. And that is like the best after work routine ever because I got steps in. I cleaned my place so that I can relax in a clean space, but I'm also enjoying it because I'm listening to a podcast that's keeping me entertained. So just carving out, like you said, these like 30-minute, 1 hour chunks of your day to add in these routines will lower your stress and, yeah, therefore make you productive on the hours that you're actually sitting in front of your computer.
Absolutely. Okay, number 5, this is to strengthen the productivity of your work time. And I don't want this to come off as like you're stressed out because you're not productive enough or you're not doing enough. And this isn't necessarily going to resonate with everyone, but there have been seasons where I have been very stressed out and then I feel like kind of like you were saying earlier, you get to the end of your day and you feel like you really haven't done anything. And you're like, how the heck did I go through this entire day? And I still feel like I have just as many things on my to do list or that I made marginal progress on multiple things. But therefore, I still have all of these open loops in my head. So I feel just as stressed as I did at the beginning of the day. And I had to really be radically honest with myself as someone who thought that I was, I would be like, oh, yeah, I'm very, very productive. No, I'm not. I was not. I was really not being as productive as I thought I was because when I would actually look at it, I'm one of those people who chronically has like 27,000 tabs open on my computer. It's actually sickening. Like it's a sickening number of tabs all the time. Anytime I have to screen share, I'm like, can I screen share just this one tab? Because I can't screen share the whole thing. I'm going to be exposed and see how many tabs they've opened. But I realized that I would actually get so like during my workday, I would be so distracted clicking through tabs that are all open to different projects or things I had to do that it was slowing me down and I was not making significant progress on things. So I implemented focus work blocks, which is where I choose one task and I just literally work on it to completion. And I will say, I don't know the science behind this. Maybe it's just like, because I don't live in like a super noisy, like, my apartment's not noisy. But when I put my noise canceling headphones on, I feel like I enter another dimension. Like
Same.
I feel like I will put them on sometimes when I'm just like cleaning my apartment because I feel like when they're on, I'm locked in. I am so focused. It's almost like, when people take those like energy shots or like caffeine shots or whatever and they're like, oh, like I'm so like locked in. Maybe these are like my equivalent of like pre-workout or something. I don't
The
know.
like
I will put
nootropics, like
yes,
those like focus gummies.
yes, I don't
Yeah,
know what it
no, I'm
is,
the
but
same way.
I put these things on and sometimes when they'll just be dead and I put them on anyways because I lock in when I can't hear nothing
Can
else,
I just say I had AirPods for in the version that has the noise cancellation on. I had them for like 2 years before I discovered that they had noise cancellation on them.
which is so funny because I remember you telling me that, and I remember you posted a
Yeah.
TikTok about it, and you were like,
Mhm,
"I
and
didn't even
everybody was
know."
like, "Girl."
People were like, "Is this your first day on Earth?" Like they were literally treating you like you were so dumb. I'm like, guys, I literally went to my AirPods. I'm like, do my AirPods have it? But mine didn't, unfortunately. But I have these like over the ear Sony headphones, and these are pretty pricey. I will say you definitely don't need like a crazy expensive pair, but I will say that these have genuinely made a huge difference in my productivity with work and life. So I will do focus work blocks and yeah, I choose one task and I focus on it until it is completely done. And I just go one task at a time. And I know it sounds so simple where it's like, yeah, duh, stop trying to do a million things and just work on one thing at a time. But I think it's after the first, there's some numbers to it that I don't quite remember, but I think it's after the first like 15 to 20 minutes or something of a focus work block, your brain like hits this point where it really locks in. And so if you can get over that first like 15 to 20 minutes where you just are still feeling like you have to do a million things, the level of productivity you can have in a shorter period of time is crazy. So definitely try that. I know you have a few other like kind of tactics that you use as well.
Yeah, because I feel like for me, when I hear focus work blocks, I think, I put something on it's Monday, I put a work block on my calendar for Thursday to do one specific thing for 3 hours. But
Mm.
then Thursday at that time rolls around and like, am I feeling super creative in that realm? Is that like actually what I want to focus on for the next 3 hours? But for me, when I think of strengthening the productivity of my work time, I think of just whatever task I am currently doing, whatever's on my mind. I'm not going to let myself only do it for 10 minutes. I'm going to make sure I am actually doing it to completion, regardless
Yes.
if that takes 1 hour or 2 hours. For example, so one task that we have with the podcast is we have to go into Riverside, our platform, and pull social clips, like 3 to 4 of them. And then we have to edit them and then we have to get them onto social media, whether that's scheduling them or sending them off to an assistant that's going to schedule them. What doing something to completion looks like is doing all of them, pulling all of them, editing all of them, and scheduling all of them so that after that work block, I don't have to touch that task for the rest of the week. But a lot of times I'll pull one and then I'll be like, oh, that's cool. Let me go edit that and schedule that really quick. And then I never go back to Riverside to like do the other ones. You know what I mean? So then you still have to come back to that task multiple times in a week. So instead of spending maybe an hour and a half doing all 4 of them, you're spending 30 ish minutes on the one task. But when I was in that season of life where I was working corporate and freelancing and doing content creation, I would just find myself switching back and forth between domains of my career so many times because it was like when I was focused on my corporate job, content creation was in the back of my mind because I had a video that I really wanted to do. Or when I was working on my freelance role, I felt guilty that I was working on that and not on my corporate job. And I felt like I should go back to see if there was anything I needed to do there. And I would just switch back and forth. And that's why I would end the day feeling like I'm sitting at my computer for 8 hours a day, but what do I actually have to show for it by the end of it? Switching back and forth between different projects or different tasks, just the amount of downtime you don't even realize. So
Mhm.
we do really have to get into a habit of just doing things more in batches. I feel like content creation is another really good example of that. If you are trying to post on social media on top of your full-time job, do it in a batch. I know it sounds easy. It's probably easier said than done. You have to get into the habit of this, but have a work block for 1 hour where you script all 5 or 6 videos that you want to post in a week. And then have a block on a Sunday where you're filming all 5 to 6 of them and then have another 1 hour block where you're editing all 5 to 6 of them. That is going to make your life so much easier than filming one video on Sunday, editing it, posting it on Monday, and then Monday night being like, shoot, I don't have anything to post on Tuesday. That's where that burnout is going to come from because you're not optimizing your work time to actually ever get ahead.
And I will say when I do focus work blocks too, I do it kind of the same way where I don't schedule. I know some people do time blocking where it's like 9 to 11 is for this task and then 11 to 12 is for this. I don't do that because I find it too rigid and I think it's better to kind of go with the waves of creativity or motivation that you have. So I make my to-do list for the day and then I look at what's on there and I say, okay, well, like pick one that I'm going to start with. And usually it's just the one that I feel like if I'm feeling particularly creative, I'm going to do the concept for a brand deal or whatever. And I finish it to completion. And so I will literally separate that window in like Chrome and make it so that my screen is literally focused on like the doc for the script and the doc that has the brief on it. And I'm creating that concept all the way through. I'm not letting anything interrupt it. And that's so helpful. Like, cause then you can just cross things off your to-do list as well, which I don't know. Yeah. But I definitely don't time block them. I find that a bit too rigid, but just, yeah, carving out the time to finish it to completion is helpful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think this flows really well into our sixth tip, which is to build systems to capture your ideas so that you're lowering the amount of time that you need to physically sit in front of your computer. Like I said a little bit earlier, this morning on my way to the gym, I was just thinking about this podcast outline for the episode that we were filming today. And typically, an outline will take me, if I sit down to my computer to write an outline for a podcast episode, it'll probably take me like 45 minutes. And Grace is also doing the same thing. And then we try to make it cohesive at the end of it. But I was driving to the gym, which is a 15-minute drive, and I had all of these ideas for all of these tips for lowering stress. So I just pulled out my voice memo and just start talking into my voice memo. And then when I got out of the car, I loaded that transcript into ChatGPT and I said, just tell me what I said. And then there was my
Mhm.
outline. So all of a sudden, I just freed up 45 minutes of me sitting in front of my computer in such a
Mhm.
simple way because you're naturally thinking whatever you do, even if it's a corporate job that you like feel like you kind of do the bare minimum at. That's where I was at before I quit my corporate job. I kind of felt like I was doing the bare minimum. You're still thinking about it. Your thoughts are probably so much more productive when you're not sitting in front of your computer. I know I felt that way in my corporate job. Like a lot of what I had to do was either writing a report or doing a presentation and doing PowerPoint slides. And when I would sit and pull up Microsoft PowerPoint, I would have no ideas. There would be no ideas in my brain. And it would take me so long to put together slides. But then when you're just living your life, you're kind of thinking about it in the background. So when you have an idea, just capture it. That is going to literally cut the amount of time that you have to sit in front of your computer in half.
I also think it applies so much to the life aspect of things because let's say you maybe have a more stressful job or stressful business, and then it's like you come home and you remember, oh my gosh, I have to send my mom a birthday card. I forgot to do that. And oh, I forgot. What is it? You're at the grocery store. Like, what was it that I needed? And then you're trying to remember all of these things and you're keeping them in your head. And it's so difficult to manage all of those things. I have tried many systems over the years to try to remember things. Back when I started my business, Lord help me, I used to write things down, my tasks for clients on sticky notes, and I would just like stick it onto my desk. When I tell you, I'm not even joking you, I'd have like 30 sticky notes all over the desk. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, like what did he ask me to do last week? I need to remember that. And I would have to like sift through my sticky notes. Why I ever thought that was a good system, I don't know. But this was also what, like 5 years
We
ago?
were trying our best.
And also a lot of the tools and software we have now, we did not have back then. I had a notebook and a sticky note, and I don't know if Notion existed at that point, maybe, but it was not nearly as popular. People weren't talking about how to organize things in the way that they do now. But even with like grocery lists and stuff, I would text myself the item that I needed. And sometimes it would work if I was in a season where I wasn't texting myself a lot of things to remember. But when I'm in a busier season, that doesn't work because I will text myself like 12 different things and then I'm scrolling back through the text messages. And it's helpful and if I'm like on the go and whatever. But I have started like I have a whiteboard, little magnetized whiteboard that sticks onto my fridge. So that's where I write down things that I need at the grocery store. Because where do I typically realize, oh my gosh, I'm out of XYZ thing is when I'm in my kitchen. So why would I then have like a notepad elsewhere or like just write it down there? And then every week when I leave to go to the grocery store, I copy down onto a note, like I make my grocery list on my phone. But if I'm in a rush, I will just take a picture of the whiteboard and head out the door. Like sometimes I'm like going out somewhere and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be by the Walmart. Let me just like grab it when I'm take a quick picture, then I'm good. Or all of my work tasks go in Notion. So anytime if I'm out and about, I'm like, oh, I need to do that for work. I have the Notion app on my phone. I take 5 minutes and I go and I write down what the task is on my Notion to-do list. Or same thing with the podcast. Like sometimes I will be out and about and I'll think, oh, that's a really good podcast idea. So we have a whole table in our Notion for the podcast that is for episode ideas where we can put down what we think the title of the episode could be and the topic and a little description. And I think that if you can create these systems to track when those tasks come up, I also on my to-do list in Notion, I have like my work tasks for the day. And then under every single day, I have a section that just says after work tasks. And so every day, like I said, I choose one before work and one after work task. And so today, my after work task is to book this solo trip that I want to go on. It was added as my after work task for today when I thought about, okay, what's coming up for my week ahead. I still need to book that trip. I'm going to put that in there. Yesterday, it was to call my doctor and schedule this like surgery that I need. Cool. That was my after work task. I had to do it like at the end of the day before they closed. But nonetheless, figuring out a way to kind of keep track of those tasks when they come up will save you so much because then you're not worrying about, oh my gosh, where did I write that down? What was it that I forgot? You have one like source of truth for the different types of tasks that you need to be doing. And I think that just makes a huge difference. It's made a huge difference for me to just figure out how to categorize them and organize them.
I totally agree. That's the end of our list. And I think if we could summarize this episode, it would just be to take the time to set up the systems to make your life easier in the long run. And I know we all tend to put that off because setting up the system is going to take a little bit more time than to just do the thing that you need to do one time, but it really is going to set you up long term to live an easier life. And I also think if we could sum up this episode, it's to not let the small things compound into big things. Really just staying on top of those small things makes a huge difference for that chronic low grade stress that I feel like so many of us live in. So just set up the systems to take care of the small things and the bigger things are going to be significantly easier. But with that, if anyone has any more productivity systems or systems that they use to keep stress manageable, definitely let us know in the Spotify. You can leave it as a Spotify comment. We love hearing from you guys. But with that, thanks for tuning into the podcast. And until next week.